G'day my friends, how are you all going today? Today I want to tell you a story about where I grew up. I grew up in a quiet little town called Torille on the west coast of the South Island. It's up the river there about 1.5 kilometres, so it's only a stone's throw from here, guys. And one day in 1976, on this very spot here where Pete's sitting, there was a murder mystery that happened. Well, the locals called it a murder mystery, and to this day, guys, it hasn't been solved. I remember it well. I mean, in 1976 I was about 7 or 8 years old. On that fateful day in 1976, guys, Ronald David Bailey and his wife Margaret drove right down this very road here, down to the river's banks. Now there's varying accounts of the story. Some people say that she wanted to go to the toilet, other people say they stopped for a picnic. So let's just go with the picnic scenario, because who in their right mind would want to go to the river's edge to go to the toilet? So I'm picking they come down here with their kids for a picnic, and why wouldn't you? Now you got to bear in mind, guys, that this river is running quite high today. If you imagine this river 2 or 3 meters lower and crystal clear water, that's what they had at the time. So rumour has it that Margaret was walking along these rocks here and she accidentally slipped and fell into the river. Now keep in mind that this river runs a lot slower when it's not half in flood like it is today. Now as you can see, guys, it is still quite shallow even when the river is in half flood like this. And her husband Ronald's account of events were she slipped into the river, she went under and she never came back up again. He also said that he dived in after her, but by the time he got to where she was washed halfway downstream and he was starting to panic as well. So after he couldn't grab his wife in panic, he grabbed the kids, jumped in the car, drove all the way into Greymouth, which is about 12 kilometres, 13 kilometres from here, went straight to the Greymouth police station and told them what happened. And of course they didn't believe his version of events. But of course, with the river not being in flood, the Greymouth police really met his story with total skepticism, guys. And why wouldn't you? Perfectly calm day on the river's bank, you fall into the river and you get swept away and drown. There had never been anyone drowned here before, so it made them think there's something not right here. And also, Ronald had a little bit of a criminal history. So they started to think, guys, things just weren't right. By the end of the day, on February 26, 1976, the police had a full-scale inquiry into the disappearance of Margaret, Ronald's wife. Because no matter how they thought about it, they just thought there's no way in hell she could slip into this river and just disappear and drown. So my friends, what do you think the police did? They decided to do a total reenactment with a policewoman and a policeman about the same size as Ronald. And what they were going to try and do, guys, was reenact the exact same circumstances. The lady officer was going to slip off the edge and the male officer was going to jump in after it and rescue it. So the test was scheduled to start at 4 PM that very afternoon, guys. Constable Sue Walker entered the river at the exact same spot where Mr. Bailey said his wife fell into the river. At that point, guys, Constable Allen waded in after her, dragged her by the scruff of the neck and dragged her back up on shore. They completed this test twice, and twice Constable Allen managed to drag Constable Sue Walker straight out of the water, straight up the bank. So they thought to themselves, there's no way that Margaret could have just drowned in the circumstances that Ronald Bailey told them. Now even when the river's not in flood like this, guys, there are little whirlpools that happen all the way through this river. I know, because like I say, I grew up around here and I used to go fishing down this river quite a lot, and you learn to keep away from the whirlpools. The closer you get, see that red roof over there? There's the Brunner Bridge is just right next to that. The closer you get to the Brunner Bridge, the more whirlpools there are. The more you get out into the middle of the river, the more whirlpools there are there as well. So the Greymouth police had been here for a couple of hours. They thought the tests were pretty well complete. But just before they went, the senior sergeant on the bank asked Sue if she could wade out to the river just a little bit further and Alan could go in and grab her. Just complete a third test, make sure that everything's honky-dory, and then they can all go back to Greymouth police station with their minds at ease. Because in their minds, there's no way that Margaret fell in the river and just disappeared. Constable Sue entered the water, but this time she went out maybe 5 meters further. All of a sudden the current dragged her and she started dragging her downstream faster and faster and faster. Constable Allen leaped in after her in a desperate attempt to try and catch her and bring her back to safety. But he too was getting washed straight down the river towards the Torille Bridge. Constable Sue was still afloat at this stage, floating about 100 metres ahead of Alan. Alan was starting to struggle and it was finding it hard to keep his head afloat. Two of their fellow officers who were standing on shore watching, they just dived straight into the river, trying to catch up with Alan and Sue. About 50 metres down the river, getting washed towards the opposite side, Sue finally caught up with Alan. She managed to keep him afloat, but now Sue was taking in water and going under as well. Despite their efforts, the current was swift and relentless, pulling them downriver, more downriver. Alan went under the water several times, swallowing a significant amount of water and coughing and spluttering every time he came back up. Meanwhile, Sue was also becoming rapidly exhausted. She almost couldn't keep her head above water anymore. Fighting to catch her breath, Sue made the heart-wrenching decision to let go of Alan. She tried removing the trousers as they were sucking her down to the bottom of the river, and the weight of the trousers were just stopping her from swimming properly. While Susan was doing this, she helplessly watched Alan drift away downstream. Unable to reach Alan, another member of the team caught up with him. Just as he caught up with him, Alan went under the water once again. They tried again and again to reach Alan, but to no avail. He was getting further and further and further away. Then Sue, who was still struggling to catch her breath, heard the would-be rescuers say, "Oh no, he's gone under. He's gone under for the third time." The others in the group managed to drag Constable Sue out of the river, but Alan Liddell was gone. For the next 2 days they searched high and they searched low, and they were scouring the river bottom and they were looking all over the place, but they still couldn't find Alan anywhere. They had jet boats, they had normal boats, they had people scouring up and down the shore. They were even going to bring in the dive team for the next 2 days, but they couldn't find Alan anywhere. Eventually, Constable Alan Liddell's lifeless body was found about 400 to 500 metres downstream from where he'd gone in after Sue. But you know what happened, guys? On March 10th, 1977, Ronald Bailey was formally charged with the murder of his wife, Margaret, by means of drowning. A year later, he was put on trial. It was the biggest thing to happen in the area for 50 years. And eventually Ronald Bailey was found not guilty of murdering his wife Margaret. Now how do you like that? However, guys, they say that the weight of the trial and his wife's death weighed heavily on Ronald, and trapped within the walls of the Invercargill prison, facing indecency charges, Ronald Bailey just couldn't bear the burdens of his past, guys. And in 1981 he chose to escape the burdens that the society had put on him, and he took his own life. And with that, the secrets of the Grey River were buried along with him. And guys, I'd like to share my condolences with Alan Liddell's family, a young police constable only doing his duty and ended up dying for it. Once again, my friends, if you like my videos, remember to subscribe, drop me a like, drop me a comment. Come say good day in the comments below. You might even remember this incident. Thanks to all those people who brought me a copy. Helps me get around the country and make more awesome content like this. If you want to buy a Peter copy, there's a link in the description below. And check either side, guys. I'll put another couple of videos up there for you to watch. Until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.